Got the election coming up. We got online voting, 1st to the 14th. What can we do to increase voter turnout? And what can we do to get youth more involved in the political process to actually make it more real to them, like it matters? Because a lot of people, they don't get involved because they don't think it matters.
Well, I'm going to dip my toe in the Thames River and then run and dip my toe in Erioa immediately. I don't know. I just had this idea. No.
Yeah, someone came up with it.
Probably not.
Not the Thames River. But what can we do? What can we do?
I think internet voting. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think internet voting is a good step. It
Right.
happened in the last election. We saw a little bump in voter turnout, and I think making voting more accessible is important. So as someone that works and has a young family, it is not easy to get to a poll on a specific day.
Right.
Having that run up of internet voting certainly is convenient, and I think that is a tool to engage younger people in voting. Technical difficulties aside, we're usually pretty tech savvy generation, and I think that is something that's attractive to young people. If you make something easy, more people are going to do it.
Absolutely.
And then just trying to demonstrate, this level of government has a pretty big impact on your life. Like Joey was saying, you open that tax bill, there's real dollars going there. You drive on the streets, you swim in the pool, you play hockey at the rink. Those are things you see every day. And maybe it doesn't get the same press as provincial or federal government, but those things have a massive impact on your day-to-day life. And I think the more people understand that, the more engaged they get.
Yeah.
Having real conversations like this
Yes.
is key. Like a lot of people get lost and I'm not going to understand politics. I'm not going to. I don't know, and they get scared. They honestly get scared. But if we just have the real conversations about what is impacting our community and what it is all about, it's not that difficult if you just break it out into small quadrants. Really, like it's just having that actual conversation instead of high level and keep scaring everybody.
Yeah.
Watching the council meetings, a lot of people that I've been talking to don't even know that you can watch them on YouTube.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I've been talking to, it was nice. I used to be able to watch council meetings, but I don't have Cogeco now. I can't watch them. Like, well, they're online.
Yeah.
So I think there's an opportunity to promote that. Yeah, you can actually stay informed on what's happening in the municipality. They're on YouTube. Might be an opportunity for someone to almost do like a Facebook Live type thing during the council meeting. There you go, Ben, coming on with the job. Right. Another one. So I think there's a way to digest what's going on in council online.
When I've talked to like some of my peers, the people I work with, tech savvy, one of the things that comes up is they're interested in issues. They're not interested in this broad politics, right? This broad branch. We don't deal with that. Like we just don't. So if there's a particular issue that's coming up by council, we don't say, hey, this is the specific issue for these people that it's going to affect you, that we're going to be dealing with. We say, these are all the topics that are coming up by council. Tune in, check this out. Or, these are all the things on the docket. And I find that my friends tend to be focused more on, these are the, a set few issues that I face. So one of them might be, I don't have a lot to do with my kids around the municipality. Well, if that's a major issue for a lot of people, like say our age, then anytime we're doing something as a municipality, we need to make younger people aware of, hey, we're dealing with this right now. This is the decision that's before us. And I think that's one of the ways that we're going to get people more interested in it. If we move away from just the general broad topic, hey, municipal politics touches every aspect of your life, to this thing's important to you, municipal politics touches this thing,
Right.
whatever that issue might be, people will get more engaged.
Yep.
And I think that's a communication issue, and I put a motion in about 3 years ago about that at one point, because I think the challenge sometimes is, and I can speak from a little bit of experience, I get the agenda on Wednesday night to know what's going to be on the meeting on Monday. I'm at work. I may get to it Wednesday night. I may do a letter reading on Saturday or Sunday, and that's someone who's actively engaged and has to vote on it, and that's about how much lead time I have. So I think that there's an opportunity to say, here's an eight-month window, and here's where some big topics are going to come up. If you're interested in animal welfare and you want to know about some checkpoints for the animal shelter, here where they're going to be over the next 4 months. So maybe you want to tune in that time, or you can click on the link and see every report that's been written on the animal shelter. I think for maybe our generation too, we expect that level of engagement and ability to get information. Even as a counselor, when I'm looking for some old information, I will go on the Chatham Voice or Chatham Daily News, figure out what the news article was, and then like scroll back through my agenda to find it. And that's a challenge, and that's not a challenge other people should face when they're trying to access this information. So I think we can do a better job. It's a massive responsibility what the municipal umbrella touches. So understandably, that communication is a challenge, but we can always improve on it and look for better ways to push that information out and offer people the opportunity to be engaged if they want to be engaged.
And with technology and what you're doing, it'll help increase turnout and voter turnout. The only thing I do encourage is learn the issues that are important to you. Get the facts out there. There's a lot of people out there that are just becoming the Instagram king and queen that are at every event all of a sudden. So go and find out. Ask those questions. What were you doing?
Don't go
What-
after us, Instagram.
So now I gotta say, but like it's that you see all these pictures. Well, why are you running?
What's behind
Ask
you?
what's behind you. Get some
Yeah.
in depth. Just don't go by what we all gear up for in the last few months of all of a sudden taking selfies everywhere we go. But actually ask those questions and make an informed decision, because making an uninformed decision can harm you way more than anything
And I
else.
think most candidates will answer your questions.
Right.
I
Oh, for
think
sure.
Oh, yeah.
In experience, you don't get a ton of emails during the election period, which is always kind of interesting. But certainly, I appreciate whenever someone throws me an email, asks for clarification on something.
Yeah.
And sometimes those are kind of watershed moments, because you get snippets of things on Twitter or in the
Yeah.
media. Maybe those issues don't make sense, and if you are passionate about it and want to know more, ask somebody about it,
Yeah.
and you'll get the answer.
Water and straws.
And for me too, I think. For me, I think this is also where the generation that is more senior can really impact the youth, right? Like, if you are watching, or somebody you know is watching, is a college instructor or professor, or is a teacher in upper level high school, or owns a business and has that ability to encourage your employees and your staff to think about this, right? To have a staff meeting and say, hey, don't forget, vote.
There's
I think
vote,
spreading
yeah.
that awareness and making voting the norm rather than exception
Yeah.
is key and is crucial, right? Because while I agree with you, Nick, I think it's important that you don't, vote blind and pick the nicest name, Melissa. No, on the ballot. But at the same time, actually going through that process and doing it can be an empowering process, right? And people who have, I've talked to a few people who say like, oh no, I don't vote, I'm against that. I'm like, great. Then go online and choose no one, because that's how you express
Right.
that you don't vote,
Yeah.
right? Just not
Yeah.
voting means you didn't show up, right?
Yep.
So
What about we got the youth action? Is it the youth action committee? Now,
CK to the power of Y, is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
yeah, okay, because Melissa and I were on the mayor's youth council
Yeah.
way back in the day.
Yeah.
I got kicked out because I was too old. Now I'm too old for this youth action
I
committee.
think are you too old? It's up to 39, isn't it?
39. I'll be too old by the time you guys get going. I'm 39 now. I was 24 and it was like 15 to 24, and I was like in and out. Quiet. But it's something like that can hopefully have a big impact on the community,
I think so, and
because that really engages youth in the actual issues and
And-
makes them a part of it.
And when we saw that CK with the Power Y survey, and I've been talking to a couple young members of the community prior to that, we were looking at what that opportunity would look like. And when we saw that results of that survey come out and say that on average young people don't feel like their voice is heard, they don't feel like they're engaged,
Yep.
there was clearly a gap in
Right.
the municipality. And we've got an age-friendly committee which is slanted to help with people who are elderly or senior, and making sure that their voice is strong in the community. And there was very clearly not representation of younger people. So I think that the first step is engaging people, offering opportunity so people do feel empowered,
Right.
and you're going to get new ideas out of that committee. I mean, there's no expectation it's going to solve every issue in Chatham Kent, but I think you do need that input. You do need to reach out, look at people who maybe have been underrepresented, and we're talking about youth retention and attraction. Those are the people we need to be talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to be talking to someone who's lived here for 35 years and ask them how we get new people to move here. You need to be talking to people who just moved here or potentially are leaving and might want to move back.
Yeah,
So
give them an outlet to actually
Yeah.
listen to them.
Yeah. I appreciate the age range of the Power to the Y committee, because I think there's
Plus
a
1 or 2 years.
one, because it makes me solidly in the middle of the
Yeah.
youth for a solid number of years still,
Yeah.
but also because I think when we were on the youth council, it was very much like high school and college,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like local to Chatham Kent
Right.
College. Individuals who have very different priorities than young family, right?
Yeah,
Like me at 18 had very different views than me at 28 years old,
Yeah.
right? Just because I was in a totally different space, right? So I appreciate that it has that like scope and breadth. And the other comment I was going to make is I think like you see a lot more under 40 candidates nowadays than what you did before. And I often tell people who bring up the youth factor, I tell them like, I don't want you to vote for me because I'm a young person.
Yeah.
I also don't want you to not vote for me because I'm a young person. I want you to vote for me because you feel like I'm skilled and that I'll do the job. And I think it's the same for, counselors and for that committee, right? We want to hear their voices, but the people that are going on their committee are the future counselors in, this round, next round. I don't know. I applied as a backup plan because I want to stay engaged. You never know. You never know. Missed the deadline on that one.
I think CK to the power Y is a way for the municipalities to start being proactive rather than reactive. So we've talked about this before, and you never want to be behind the curve because costs go up when you're behind the curve. You're always waiting to see what's going to happen next, and one of the ways to get proactive in that so that we don't get into the same situation we're in right now is exactly talk to the people that we want to attract and figure out what matters to them so that we can design policy around that. Because if we get to this point, if we continue where we're at now and we are constantly being reactive trying to come up with policies, well, we're making policies for yesterday instead of for tomorrow.
I think a good example of that is the new P3 model, which I talked to some people who are more senior than I am. They're like, yeah, this P3 thing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's been around for 10 years, right? Like I grew up thinking about public-private partnerships. That's been like my job has always involved public-private partnerships. But that's very different from the days before amalgamation when the city would say like, oh, we would like to do this. Here you go. Here's your dollars, right? Now there's all of a sudden this onus on communities and community groups to find investors to create those partnerships. That's something that young people live and breathe, not just in their communities, but in their work lives and their day-to-day lives, right? You look at, daycares that are renting out community facilities or schools that have incubators or like there's other facilities in them. So that's very much a norm for today's young families growing up into. And that's something that's really foreign, I think, to people who are, in retirement age or beyond in terms of how they're approaching. So your point about being proactive, right? I don't know what 10 or 20 years from now is going to be the norm, but people going into university next year certainly will.
Yes,
right?
Oh, for sure.
Exactly. And to that point with P3s, I mean, the federal government, the provincial government have been doing this for, like you said, upwards of 10 years. And if we're looking for investment from other levels of government, we have to be involved in that too. We can't keep operating under an old way of thinking, an old model that nobody else is operating under. Because that's across Canada, everybody's using that.
Yep, exactly.